I did it. I learned Blender in 3 weeks to be able to make my own Project Zomboid mod. Subscribe. It was a long month, but I'm glad I did it because now, honestly, the sky is the limit. But man, I'm tired. For those that are new to the game Project Zomboid, it is a sandbox zombie game. It's really meant to be whatever you want it to be.
What is that even called? Oh, this the whip you gonna give me? Oh! But everybody is useless on this game when they just learning it.
It could be a life simulation. It could be a cooking simulator. It could be a driving simulator. And you gotta survive zombies. What I always thought was cool was the modding community is so good. There's so many different types of mods across this game. On Steam, they have what's called a workshop where people can upload their own mods. You can go in and sort them and go by what's popular and download things. It's as simple as clicking download, clicking play on your game, and it's in your game. One of the mods that always stood out to me is called Authentic Z. Somebody took on the job of, I'm going to make hundreds of clothing items and bags for the game. And part of that, somehow they created something where you can hook on plushies, is what it's called, like a small toy, onto the back of a backpack. It would be cool if I could make my own. So then I kept looking. There was other people that made their own plushie mods. There's this person that made like 20 different versions of a plushie. So I'm like, what could be a plushie? Easy. West. West is my Siberian Husky who just turned 6 this past year. And this will be my attempt to make my boy immortal, or as long as the internet survives. So then I looked up ideas of what a husky plushie looked like. Of course, there was something that looked exactly like what I was thinking. It was kind of like circular. It looked like it was soft and it had a little clip on the top that would make sense that you could just clip it onto stuff. So when I seen that, I'm like, okay, this can't just be an image. This has to be a 3D object. And at the time of taking on this project, I had zero 3D knowledge. So I started working. I started on a chair tutorial that took me like a month to do. I practiced lighting. I practiced, positioning things in different places. And I did the notorious donut tutorial by the Blender Guru. If you haven't watched that, please check it out. Without him, I don't know where I would be at in this process. But in 3 weeks, I was able to begin modeling. So the first thought was, okay, let me get a side view of West's head and model it. And it didn't need to be this realistic. And it got worse. And I'm like, okay, this is Project Zomboid. I don't need a hyper realistic head. And I just restarted. I was like, okay, let's just go back to the drawing board. So then I traced a line around that plush toy that I found earlier. Okay, maybe I just model the toy that I had the original idea from. I don't really need West's head in this. And it made some weird shape and I just restarted that one. So then I'm like, okay, what if we did a sphere that kind of shapes the same as the plushie we're trying to model? Perfect. I mean, all I did was take down the amount of faces that were on it so it'd be a little bit more easy to move it and shape it to the plushie. This part honestly took me like 20 minutes. Like, this really didn't take me long at all. And I literally had that base shape very easily done. So then I had to make the ears. A lot of the tutorials I watched, you really just had to make your faces first. And that's what I did. I didn't really focus on making the shape of the ears. I just wanted a spot where I knew the ears would come off of the head. And then I just went to the vertices of each of those faces and just moved it as close as I could to the way the ears were angled. So I did the same exact thing for the nose. I just found 2 faces that I thought looked good and just moved them out. And then I did what's called a shade smooth, where it just smooths all the edges. It doesn't make it look like a square of some sort or like, I don't know, like some sort of like block object. It actually starts to give it shape. But when I did it looked like a pig. Like, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, this looks just like a pig, but all good. We're not done yet. So we then added what's called a subdivision. Subdivision, it takes, from what I understood, it takes the closest points and it rounds it to those points. I think is the best way to describe it. All I know is it gives you rounder edges. So then I went into what is called texture paint in Blender. I've seen a lot of ways on how people make the textures of their 3D items. This was just the easiest way to me that I could understand. Was I'm just gonna make this whole thing black, just like West's fur, and then I'm just gonna take a white brush and just go wherever West's white fur is at. And on one monitor I had like West's face, and then on the other monitor I was just drawing along with it. And once it was coming together, I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was picturing. It matches his face perfect. The nose is rounded just like the plush toy I was doing the example from. And I mean, we're done. So the next step was to make all the different variations. I promised my community I would have different variations of West. I think in the future, maybe we do the whole body different, but this time I just did the eyes and the face. So I have like sad faces. I have silly faces in there. I have faces where he looks mad, red eyes. I called one red blue. It was called 3D. So that part of it was fun, but then I had to save each texture individually, and I had to save it as the image. It was a lot, but that side of it didn't take long. Whew. So the next part is building the mod. I don't know if you guys know much about mods, but mods usually come from the actual game's code. You would take all the information they use to make a shirt, you would put it into your own folder and manipulate things to what you want. Now that is a modification. And then you would upload it back into the game exactly where they have it uploaded at, and it would change it in the game. There's some games that like doing this. There's some games that don't. A lot of games that don't, they don't want companies to steal their coding because you're literally looking at the back end code. So then what I love that happens in the modding community is somebody can take something out of the game and make it their own. And then another modder can take inspiration from that mod and make it their own. That is truly how a modding community builds momentum. And that is what I did. So looking at the mod folder, it's a media folder, mod info, poster, PNG. I didn't know what the heck I was looking at when I was looking at this. So what you then have to do is I just went back and just looked at a lot of other mods that are very similar. Shout out to IndifferentBroccoli. That is the server that hosts my server. Somebody made them a plush mod for their community. So I just went into the coding of that and just started changing things into what I wanted. It was like, okay, this is the mesh name. Okay, let me change that to Husky. This is the model name. Okay, let me change that to West, model Husky, whatever it is. So shout out to IndifferentBroccoli, because that was really the first mod that I started really basing my coding off of. So this is where you have to make sure, I'm telling you, if you're somebody who's taking inspiration from this video, make sure you are typing everything consistent, because it could be as little as a capitalized letter that could mess up your entire code. Honestly, I didn't go straight into the game and test it because I really wanted to build it out as much as I could, because I feel like once you're testing it, it should be close to being done. So the next thing was you have to make like the poster for it, or whatever image shows up for your mod. I wanted to make it like a cheap like poster that you would see in like Toys R Us or something way back in the day, not like current day. So I gave it like the cheesy art text, and this will be the header photo of the mod. This will be in Steam. This will also be in the game when you're looking for different mods you want to put in. So I put a real photo of my boy West on there, you know what I mean? And I put the photo of the plushie, and I put 1007. The lore for 1007 is that it's his birthday. So, that's some good lore right there. So now we are going to test it in the game. If you made it this far, I hope you're not looking at this as a tutorial. This is not meant to be a tutorial. I didn't even know what I was doing in this. I really want this video to be inspiration for you to create your own mods, or inspiration for you to create something in a video game, because me personally, I've played video games for so long and it's something I haven't really got to do yet. So you hop into Project Zomboid. I'm looking for the mod. There he is. You see the poster that I put in there. Everything looks perfect so far. So all I had to do was click enable. Then I load into the game. And I'm like, wait, how am I supposed to get the mod? I didn't go into debug mode. Like, I didn't have any way of spawning the item, and I didn't even set the spawn points yet for the item. So if you go into Steam and you type in -debug for Project Zomboid, it gives you like this cheat menu where you can spawn basically anything you want. So now I'm searching in here, childish. Okay, I don't see it. Okay, let me type in husky, maybe. You know, I'm looking west. I'm typing in everything. Okay, I was typing in type. Let me try typing in name. I still couldn't find it. So something was wrong in my coding. So once again, I go back and I'm telling you, this is why I said, make sure your wording is exactly how it should be. I went back and fixed like at least 3 or 4 problems that either weren't typed correctly. I was missing a letter in it. Something very small that just made the whole mod not work. So finally we're back in. I can see all of the versions that I made, and I just instantly get to placing them out. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, yo, this is so crazy. Like, I literally just made a mod in Project Zomboid. Let me take that screenshot real quick so I can use that for later. But I noticed that there's an orange as one of them. I used orange in the mod that the game uses orange for the actual orange, so I had to change that. That was an example of just testing. I didn't know all of these things would happen if I didn't test it. So the last thing I wanted to test before we go back out and fix some things was if it could equip to a backpack. So go ahead and attach it, and it's backwards. So once again, I mean, in this test alone, I found like 3 or 4 issues. So I'm like, okay, thank goodness I didn't just upload this and say like, okay, it's done. Like, it was so many issues off the bat. So we go back and I'm sending it to people. I send it to Shogun. I'm like, yo, look, I'm making this. He was like, I was not expecting it to be that big. I was thinking like the split plushies sizes, that mug a pillow. I was salty he said that, but he was right. He was right. So that was the 6th issue in all of the issues I found so far. So I had to go back and fix everything. So I spawned back in. Don't worry about me just skipping across the map. I spawned back in. One of the spawns that I set was the school. So I fixed all the issues up till now. And then I also set the spawn point. So obviously one of the easy spawn points to create was the school. I should be able to find it somewhere in the school. I'm checking the lockers, the desk. I'm like, dude, I can't find. What is that? There it is. I have found my childish husky in the wild. I connected to my backpack. It looks perfect on my backpack now. We are literally almost done. I wanted to add a little bit more spawn points. I found a couple in the desk. I found some in, you know, a bookcase. Like, I wanted to have a little bit more control over where the spawns were. But in the school alone, I was able to find like 5 versions of the husky. So, hey, this is like a little shortcut. You know what I mean? If you come across this video, hit the school, you'll find them. But other than that, there is still ways to find them in the wild. That is not only the school. So, I mean, honestly, I was able to find so many versions. I was like, okay, I think we are good. I found multiple versions. I found it in multiple places. I would say this mod is complete. So now we have to make like the preview photos that people always make. Like, people always do a cover photo and then they like give some more detail on what the mod is. So like I added like never alone, and then like you can bring it with you, like promo posters. And then I needed a description. So one thing I thought that was kind of interesting was you upload the mod in the game. So I think it goes through some sort of like vetting system to make sure everyone uploads their mods similar, which makes sense. But in that, I needed a description. I didn't even think that hard into a description, but I instantly got an idea when I came across this, where I was like, ooh, what if like Malik Childish of this time period had some toy company and he made all of these huskies and they have been able to stand the test of time in this apocalyptic world. What if he started making the toys during the apocalypse? Like, I don't know. Like, we're building up lore. But then I was like, man, I have time, but at the same time I don't. So, you know, let's call our buddy ChatGPT and see if he can help us make a description off of that. And he didn't do bad. I mean, introducing the Childish Husky plush toy by Childish, a relic from the legendary company founded by the ingenious Malik Childish. In a world now ruled by silence, this husky stands as a testament to the playful spirit that once was. So I kind of feel like this description could have been made by someone who found them. It could have been made by someone who just has an idea of this plushie that's floating around the world. I don't know. It seems very vague, but it gives it just something extra. So once we do it, I upload it. And I don't know, man, when I got to this point, it felt so good. Like, I've been on Steam for a long time, and the workshop is a very big part of Steam. This is where you go to basically change your game. A lot of games like RimWorld and City Skylines, like, this is where you go to truly manipulate your game, and it's done by some very, very talented people out there. And I wanted to be a part of those talented people. And so seeing this was so cool to me. Like, these are the pages I looked at to see if I liked the mod or not, or see if I wanted to add it to my mod. And I'm looking at it like, oh, this is so good. And one of the first things I did want to add to it, anyone who comes across this, you have full permission to manipulate the texture and model and re-upload it. I don't want to say like, don't re-upload my mod and re-upload it. I want this video to be a testament that I'm the first creator. I want the workshop upload to be that I'm the first creator. I'm not charging people to buy this mod, so please be creative with this. If it's something you want to change, you want to make it look like your dog, I don't know. Well, we did it. We learned Blender in 3 weeks. We made some textures, we messed around with some coding, and we now have a mod that is completely created by me on the workshop. The link will be in the description. Please let me know what it looks like. Share some photos in the Discord. And speaking of Discord, we have reached 4,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Like, what? Y'all really like these videos? So I told my community at 4,000 we will be doing our next giveaway. All you have to do is join the Discord, head to the giveaway channel, and just leave a reaction there. You will be eligible for whatever the #1 game on Steam is. If you don't want that game, you can get something of equal value. I will be giving out 2. So there's 2 chances you can win. This is not only a thank you to this community for making any of this stuff possible, but just a thank you that we are just a small community. We gotta take care of each other, y'all. We gotta continuously grow and help people out in this community. I want this game to be something that someone could make content on, review, whatever it is. So thank you for watching. It is Malik Childish. Please go download the Childish Husky plushie. I'm gone.